Surprise! It's time to reveal 7 incredible games you didn't even know you owned. Games within games are great. You like games anyway, and there you are in the middle of your favourite open world sandbox, and suddenly a whole new way to play springs up. Sometimes you'll even find that you end up playing the minigame even longer than you did the original. Oh, hello Gwent. Lovely to see you again. In this list, you'll find the compelling, the totally nightmarish, and the oh no, why am I still playing this somehow even more fictional game at 3 AM when I really have to go to sleep. It's time for the 7 best games you might not even know you own. Now, I'm not saying that Stardew Valley isn't enough on its own. This slice of utter farming perfection is just that. It's glorious and nutritious, like a fine stew. But then there's Junimo Kart, our first game within a game that makes a trip to the Stardrop Saloon about more than just picking up entire pizzas or whole vats of spaghetti to take down into the mines as a packed lunch. Unlike the arcade cabinet next to it, the almost equally addictive and impossible Journey of the Prairie King, Junimo Kart is only actually available once you've collected the skull key from the 120th level of the mines. Sneaky. Yes, this is a mini-game so fiendish that, like all of Stardew Valley's best bits, is hidden away behind some serious in-game achievements. But once you've beaten the mines and have the skull key firmly in your grip, you can play to your heart's content. Just know that you might be in the saloon until Gus is wiping up the sticky floors, putting the stools back on the bar, and wants to send you packing. Junimo Kart is addictive in the way that only horrible, frustrating, side-scrolling one-button platformers can be. The way that eats nights and days whole, like a giant whale that wants your time instead of krill. How can sending an adorable Junimo sideways through a mine be so compelling, so ludicrously frustrating, and so Moorish that it makes Flappy Bird look tame in comparison? Who knows? But there's 6 levels of procedurally generated hellmouthery to survive, and you won't stop until you've finished them all. And your reward for this great feat? Endless crafting materials, gold, iridium, true farming glory, your very own Junimo in the post? Well, no. You'll get sent a console to your house the next day so you can do it all over again from the warmth of your own pixelated home. Yay. And next up, we have a card game. And I realised that it would have been possible to fill this list with nothing but card games because they're the go-to game within a game of choice, but Pazak, which first appeared in Knights of the Old Republic, is special because of the setting as much as the experience of playing. By which I mean, you get to pretend you're in Star Wars. It's essentially an intergalactic version of blackjack, played with a custom deck that lets you collect cards which add and/or subtract points to get the perfect score of 20. And that's fun enough, for sure, but it's the fact that you play every game in a classic Star Wars hive of scum and villainy that really sells it. There's that outrageously sleazy cantina music playing in the background, a satisfying suite of bloopy sound effects to accompany every play, and you're rarely more than 15 feet away from a jiggling hut crime lord. Yes, you might be on a mission to save the Old Republic from the lingering Sith menace, but there's always time to sit your wannabe Han Solo backside down in a sleazy bar and lose some credits playing Pazak. Admittedly, this does potentially add another 10 hours to an already huge game, but when you're knocking back blue bantha milk and pretending to be an intergalactic smuggler, who can blame you? Do they serve milk in cantinas? Who cares? This is probably as close as you can get on Earth. Night in the Woods, like a cat in human clothes, is deceptive. It's a story-driven game that some might ignore for being light on gameplay and heavy on feels. But there's loads going on here on top of the touching story and pin-sharp script. You can expect bouncy, tight-roped platforming bits, interactive pizza consumption, and even a bass-playing minigame in which it's possible to be hilariously terrible. But by far the best minigame in Night in the Woods is Demon Tower, a top-down hack-and-slash adventure game that May can play once she gets her filthy laptop cleaned by her computer-literate friend Angus. What kind of adult sites would infect a cartoon cat's laptop? It's probably best not to think about that. Moving swiftly on, if you own Night in the Woods but haven't played Demon Tower, congratulations! You've just gained another great new game you didn't know you had. It's a pixelated, atmospheric dungeon delver, and it feels like an absurdly generous thing to include in an already worthwhile game. Not least because not everyone will even get around to playing it. Because who says your introspective examination of small-town America can't include a game about cat wizard murdering chicken monsters? And if you were expecting an IRL cat in human clothes for this section, then honestly, you can't be more disappointed than I am right now. I blame Matt. Now, we could have included Shenmue here because it started the trend of including classic Sega arcade machines inside other games, and the PC remaster is wonderful. But Yakuza 0 gets the nod ahead of Yu Suzuki's classic adventure purely because it's more generous with its coin-op classics, including Space Harrier, Outrun, Super Hang-On and Fantasy Zone, and because Matt wrote this entry for the script and he's obsessed with Yakuza. Much like Pazak and KOTOR, the setting here is what helps make these arcade games special. Strolling into a bright, enticing arcade with Kiryu or Majima makes you feel like you're really there. You're hypnotised by the colours and the sounds. And of course, it helps that the games are still brilliant too. Yes, they're probably older than your parents, but there's something compelling about these groundbreaking titles. The sense of speed in Outrun is still exhilarating. Thundering through a checkpoint while chill music plays on the car stereo feels like an achievement every time. And Space Harrier, with its accidentally colourful skies and bizarre enemies, is a glorious assault on the senses. If you've ever wondered why people pump their hard-earned pocket money into old-school arcade machines, these games have the answer. And if you get bored of those, there's always the UFO catchers. Now, you're probably wondering why, if Matt loves Yakuza so much, why he's not here waving his hands and talking enthusiastically. Well, the truth is that he's off having a baby, which he'll probably call Kiryu, irrespective of whether it's a girl or a boy. Fun isn't a word that many people use for nuclear winter. Whether it's the vampiric blood bugs or just the fact that you need to keep piling in the radaways to stop yourself losing your skin to radiation, fun just isn't the first word that comes to mind. The good news is that in Fallout 4, just to make those endless slogs across the wasteland slightly more bearable, your lovely Pip-Boy can actually play video games, and pretty good ones too. You'll find the Red Menace holotape in Vault 111 when you first start out in the game, and you might even find it distracts you from the misery of everyone and everything you've ever known turning to ash. I've done videos on how video games can actually help with PTSD, but I'm not sure how this particular Donkey Kong clone will help much here. Regardless, load up Red Menace and you'll quickly realise that despite having power armour instead of a hammer, this is very much the same game as the 80s arcade classic. Dodge bombs, leap over barrels, and you too will be able to rescue Vault Girl from evil flag. No, really. It's also worth giving a shout out to Zeta Invaders, which, as you might have guessed, is Fallout's equivalent of Space Invaders, a game that even the apocalypse can't kill. Cockroaches, Space Invaders and Donkey Kong. Games never change. Imagine firing up The Witcher 3 and unexpectedly finding The Witcher 2 included at no extra cost. That's what it must have been like playing Day of the Tentacle way back in 1993 and stumbling across Ron Gilbert's previous adventure classic, Maniac Mansion, hidden inside a computer that looks suspiciously like a Commodore 64. This was the first true example of a game within a game, and it still ranks highly as one of the most surprising, generous examples. We're used to this now, of course. This list wouldn't exist otherwise, but at the time of release, it was unheard of. It's like opening up Matt and finding another younger Matt hidden inside him, which, now I think about, would be terrible. But you get my point. One of the coolest things about this is that Maniac Mansion seamlessly integrates into Day of the Tentacle's gameplay. It's not sitting there in a menu, it doesn't come on a separate disc, it's hidden on an in-game computer waiting to be found, and it still stands up as the first, best example of gameception. And there was me thinking I'd get to the end of this feature without saying gameception. I'm so sorry. Maybe I'm just still sickened by the thought of two Matts. Ugh. And finally, we come to it at last. We've had arcades, we've had dungeon crawlers, we've had entire point-and-click games hidden inside other point-and-click games, but there was no way we were getting through this list without including Gwent. Leaving out Gwent from The Witcher 3 would be like doing a best cat-eyed, gravel-voiced RPG heroes list and forgetting to include Geralt. Gwent is the reason that lists like this exist, but how good actually is it? Well, it's good enough to be a standalone game, and one that even makes the irrepressible Hearthstone feel slightly flat. And there's something about experiencing it in The Witcher 3, with the monster Ichor still sticking to Geralt's beard and a cast of grizzled tavern dwellers looking on, that just feels like pure fantasy escapism. Throw in that thigh-slapping folksy theme tune and you can almost taste the foaming ale, salted pork and dysentery. Delicious. And perhaps the most striking thing about this game within a game is that Gwent might be the hardest thing about The Witcher 3. Yes, you can parley with emperors and slay trolls, but building the perfect Gwent deck takes time, effort and deep understanding. You can learn the basic rules in the in-game tutorial, but that really just scratches the surface. This is a deck building game, so if you're serious about playing, you need to take every opportunity to collect new cards. You're no longer the Butcher of Blaviken, you're Geralt the Gwent guy, playing Gwent everywhere you go, buying every Gwent card you see, playing every Gwent opponent until you win. And because Gwent is your life now, every clawed victory and acquired card feels amazing. Gwent! Gwent. Yes. The only problem with all of this, of course, is when you come back to real life and realise that normal decks of cards don't have fog or ballistas or Aetolian archers. And that is rubbish. And if you want 7 other real-life things that games have ruined for us, hit the link in the description now. So that's our favourite games hiding within games. Let us know if we've missed your ultimate or surprise mini-games in the comments below, and drop this video a like even if it's kind of okay without Matt. Subscribe to Logitech G for more videos just like this one, and don't forget that if you do already subscribe, you can hit the notification bell to make sure you don't miss a single drop.